Abigail, what's going on?
It's good. How are you?
The it's always so funny, like when you've been talking to someone before, like you go live, but then it just has that like countdown of like 5 seconds
Yeah.
where you're just like
It's
looking.
like, quick,
But
think of something fun to say.
man, for for people that are in the community that maybe don't know who you are, or even like people on
hmm
YouTube that are watching this that don't know you, like describe a little bit about like who you are, where you're from, and like what you do.
Okay. Well, my name is Abigail Jackson Daniels, and I'm from Orlando, Florida. I actually was born in Florida, so native Floridian.
In
And
Orlando, or
I was born in Fort Myers, which is
oh, okay.
south of Orlando. But yeah, yeah. And I do small business accounting for creators specifically, school group owners, course creators, content creators, YouTubers, anybody who has a creative business online.
And so your last name before was Daniels or Jackson,
My
right?
Jackson. My married name is
Jackson.
Daniels.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So how did you get into like this world of like doing accounting and everything like this, like finances and this type of stuff you're doing now?
Um, Kind of by accident. I didn't intend to be an accountant. I didn't set out to do this as a living. I actually started like my online
Oh, whoa.
journey. Oh no.
You said say
Whoops.
that one more
We'll
time?
we'll pretend that didn't happen. I started my online journey specifically about like blogging and wanting to create courses.
Mm.
And so I learned everything about blogging and course creation, and this was 7 years ago when that was like a new
What
thing.
was it? What were you blogging about?
I was blogging about how to read your Bible and like Christian girl like
Wow.
wanting to get married and wanting to be a good Christian wifey. And yes, I've undergone quite a few transformations since then. I'm still a Christian and I still want
Were
to be a good wife,
you
but there's a lot of stuff I changed my mind on.
were you were you dating, were you with your husband at that time?
No, I'd never dated anybody before.
Oh, before when you were writing that you hadn't.
Yeah.
Wait, so wait, all right.
But it
So
was
how did wait?
mostly
Why?
about like how to read your Bible and stuff.
Okay, so what got you into like why that topic and why blogging? Like why were you like, okay, I want to blog and like this is the topic that I'm gonna do it about?
So I originally started doing research because I was teaching piano lessons. So I have had a career as a professional pianist. And at the time, I was
Wow.
teaching
Okay.
lessons out of my house. And I was like, I want to move out of my parents' house and I need money to do that. So I wanted to learn how to like run my piano studio better. And in finding people who were teaching how to create a better piano studio, they had, running an in-person business is fine, but you can actually make more money teaching online. And so I was like, what? You can teach things online? And that just opened the rabbit hole of blogging and course creation. And at that point in my life, pretty much the only thing I had any expertise in was Christianity and reading the Bible and theology. I mean, I basically put myself through like free seminary when I graduated high school. So they were all like, you have to talk about what you know. And I was like, well, this is the only thing I know right now. So that's what I did.
But
But
wait.
I
So
felt,
I
I,
feel like I feel like most people that are watching this are gonna be like, wait, why wouldn't you have done blogging about like piano? Or like that, like why wasn't that the focus? Like if it's like, hey, do something, like you were already
um,
making money with that.
that would have made sense, but I didn't think of it. And blogging about piano is not as fun as actually playing piano. So I didn't really see how I could talk a lot about
Okay.
playing piano because it's something that like it's way easier to teach when you can see what is happening. So either I would have had to start a YouTube channel, which I
Okay,
that
yeah,
was not even on the
true.
radar.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Okay. Yeah. I'm thinking like in my mind, I guess that was like you have a blog, but the blog is like post, but it has like a YouTube video attached to it, and then more. But if you're like, I'm not doing that, then that makes sense. So, Okay, so your
Yeah, it
piano.
was
How long were
text
you?
only.
How long were you doing piano? Like teaching piano.
Over 12 years.
12 years.
Yeah.
Wow. And you had like your own studio, or like what? How did you get into that?
So I took piano lessons for 12 years, and my teacher was like, I have a wait list of students, and I think this is something that you would be good at. So basically, she let me propagate a business off of hers, and whenever she'd have people on a wait list for, taking lessons, she would say, you can either be on my wait list, or you could try out this girl. She was my student, blah blah blah. And so she
That's cool.
actually got me started in my first like real business. I had a business when I was like 7 picking up grapefruit from my neighbor's yard, but that didn't last very long. So teaching pianos was like the very first business I had, and I was 16 years old. So I was teaching out of my parents' house. The students would come to the house, and my piano teacher taught me how to run a piano teaching business, except for taxes. That was the only thing. I was like, okay, so I'm making money. Here's how you set up the pricing, blah, blah, blah. Now what about taxes? And she was like, I'm not a tax expert. You're on your own. And I was like, okay, so I'm going to have to figure this out. And it was scary. And I was scared of like, what if I owe the IRS all this money and they're going to come and arrest me? And I was also terrified of debtor's prison because my family watched this Charles Dickens play every Christmas, and the characters are like in debtor's prison, and I was just absolutely terrified of that. Come to find out that that's not even a thing in England anymore, and it never was a thing in America, but I was like literally terrified of it. And so my tax strategy at that time was to not make enough money for it to matter.
Wow.
So
Okay.
instead of learning about how taxes worked, I was just like, if I don't make more than however much, like, I won't have to pay taxes at all. So like the minimum, I can't think of the word right now, but you get like $12,000 a year as a standard deduction. So I was like, as long as I make under $12,000 a year, I'll be fine. I won't have to pay anything. So my strategy was to be like super tiny and not ever actually make any money that was enough to live on. So that didn't last long because obviously you can't move out of your parents' house on $12,000 a year. And as I learned about blogging and whatnot, then the whole horizons opened, and I was like, oh, I can do other things besides teach piano. So I started the How to Read Your Bible blog, but I felt bad about charging for anything. I could have made courses on that, but I was like, the Bible is free. God gives us all this for free. Like, I feel bad.
I mean,
charging
we have to
people for
buy,
knowledge
but
that,
yeah.
Charging people for
Depending on
knowledge
where
that
you
should
go,
be
you
free.
have to
So
buy
I
it somewhere.
never, yeah. But I felt bad, like, morally planning to charge
Yeah.
for stuff. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to find something else to do. And then at that point, my sister was having a lot of really serious health issues, and none of the doctors we were taking her to could figure out what was wrong. And I was like, I'm gonna figure out what was wrong. So I started putting myself through health education. Rabbit holes down the internet led me to find out that there is such a thing as health coaching, and you can get certified for it and charge to coach people and make money that way. And so I put myself through an actual health coaching certification program, with the money that I was making from teaching piano lessons, and intended to turn that into my career and be a health coach. But again, I was running into, I don't know what to do about the money because I'm scared of not having money because being poor sucks. But I'm also scared of making money because I don't know what to do with it. And I'm still scared of debtor's prison.
Yeah.
I'm still scared of getting arrested by the IRS. And the coaching, like, certification program had a business module, but I had been online enough at that point to know even then that it was like 3 years out of date. So I was like, if I'm really going to do this, I need to, learn it myself. So I started looking up marketing and learning how to run like the online part of online business. And then I got sucked into the ClickFunnels world and did the One Funnel Away challenge and got very carried away with the promises of like making a lot of money really quickly and how online is so much faster and blah blah blah, which technically is true, but I didn't know enough about how business works to have the context for what prerequisites you have to have in order for those things to work. So I was thinking, oh, I'll just make a funnel and then I'll make all this money and my problems will be solved. And that's
you're one funnel away.
Exactly. Exactly. So I was like buying courses. I got into a coaching like mastermind thing. And I was spending all this money I didn't have. Sure, I was making money from piano lessons, but at that point it was like, I was like $15,000 a year. Like, it still wasn't making that much. So I'm living in my parents' house, desperately wanting to move out, desperately trying to figure out how to make money so I can afford to move out, not even knowing for sure how much that's going to cost me. So I didn't know how to plan for how much I needed to make. And then I didn't have a clear path to actually making it, whatever that, random number was. Mm-hmm. And just getting more and more in the hole. I put a bunch of stuff on credit cards. I stopped. I had been really great at budgeting and keeping track of things. And I stopped doing it in that year, which made things worse. And then getting started budgeting again is hard when you stop for whatever reason. So I really got like in a bad place mentally, and that was 2020 on top of everything else. So I was doing all of this to myself on top of there being a pandemic and everybody else being stressed out of their minds, which greatly affected me. So, I was in debt for the first time in my life. I gained like 30 pounds on top of that.
Wow.
And it was really bad. And I had this thought that like I need to figure out money, because obviously wanting to help people isn't enough. Because, you go online and people are like, oh, if you have this, if you do this, if you are this personality, if you have these habits, like success will just magically happen. And I was like, I have all of these things. I am this personality. I do these habits, and success is not magically happening. So there's another factor that they're not talking about. Yeah. And from what I could tell, it had to do with money. Either my mindset, my habits, my understanding of how it works, something was missing. So I went through a whole boot camp on mindset and figuring out all the lies I'd been told my whole life and stuff I'd like read in the Bible and thought I knew what it meant, but studying the actual words that English was translated from changes perspective sometimes.
Yeah.
So like all this stuff, and then I was like, okay, so mindset, sure, mindset is important, and I did a lot of mindset work, so I'm not knocking that. But if I can't even budget the $1,200 a month I'm making right now, there's no way I'm going to be able to manage $10K a month. So I started really looking into how do you practically manage money, and what do you have to do, like what are the habits that you have to do every month, every week? Do you have to track it every day? Not really. But I had to build that momentum of discipline in learning how to manage it well. And then I started looking for jobs, because obviously trying to make money online was not working, and I did need to move out of my parents' house for lots of interpersonal drama reasons. And like I couldn't wait for things to work. I had to take care of myself first. And so I kind of put online entrepreneurship on hold, and I got a job actually doing accounts payable for a contractor who built pools, which was my first like official accounting job, and that was even before I'd officially learned accounting. But accounts payable is just paying the bills and making sure that the vendors are paid on time. So I didn't need like a certification for that. But I learned I learned hands-on because I was dealing with QuickBooks, I was dealing with invoices, I was learning more of what an in-person business is like, a contracting business. And so I was getting more context for how things work across industries. Because I had a really solid idea of how things worked online, but seeing how they work in an established industry that's been around for decades really kind of solidified a lot of the concepts. And so the more I worked on that, the more I realized that, hey, I actually kind of know accounting. I studied it in high school, and just like for fun. Like my friend gave me her college accounting textbook and I read it for fun. And so I was like, maybe this isn't that hard. Maybe I've been making it out to be way more complicated than it really is. And so I'm going to look into it for real to find out if I'm just like making a mountain out of a molehill so I don't have to deal with it.
Yeah.
So I got a certification in bookkeeping, and I did actually know how accounting worked. Sure, there was some fine details that I learned and how to analyze metrics and how to do the calculations. But as far as understanding money management, I already knew it. I had been doing it since I was 16. But I had told myself that it was so complicated and so scary and so risky, and if I got it wrong, like my life would be over. I had lied to myself for so long that I was paralyzed over something that really was not that big of a deal. So then I worked as a volunteer coordinator for a global nonprofit, and then I was like, I need to leave that job because of ethical reasons. Completely other story. But I had to get a new job very quickly. So I found a position. Someone I knew from that job recommended me to the CEO of a shower door installation company. So they were doing real life business. I say real life, but like, in person, physical installation of physical products. And they were looking for a full charge bookkeeper. So I took over their entire accounting department. Was me. I did everything. I did payroll for over 40 employees. I did all of the transactions, all of the reporting, all of the reconciliations. I took care of their loans. I took care of the credit cards. I paid off the gas cards. I handled payroll. I handled child support garnishments and paying sales taxes and multi-state compliance and blah, blah, blah. And like when I first started, I was like, oh no, this is another thing that I don't know everything about, and it's going to be so scary, and what if I mess up? And the more I did it, the more I was like, yeah, it's a lot, but like it's not complicated to understand. It can be a lot to do. There's a lot of things to keep track of, but it's not that complicated to understand. And I realized at that point that like my role, my technical title was bookkeeper, but I was doing the job partially of an accountant and partially of a CFO. So even though I wasn't getting paid and I wasn't getting the recognition for being CFO, I was doing part of that job because I was creating the SOPs. I was making sure the financial department was compliant. I was creating the systems for the other departments to use in charging customers and paying the vendors and all of that kind of stuff. So like even now sometimes like people will use financial terms and I'm like, oh, that sounds big and scary. Do I know what that means? And then yeah, like I know what it means. I just don't call it those big scary words. And I think that's the thing that I like really get frustrated with, because the finance industry is such a huge thing. It's worth so many billions of dollars, and there's so much legal stuff, and you have to have liability worries and who's going to get sued over what and advisory stuff. But like actually taking care of your money is not complicated. They make it sound complicated to scare you. And I lived with all of that scare and fear for a very long time, and I'm like, ain't nobody need to put up with that.
Yeah. So like, so talk a little bit like now, because there's probably like a lot of people that are gonna watch this are like, bro, like I'm in your shoes. Like that's how I feel about all this.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit now about like where you're, like what you're trying to do to like help other people with this.
So, my group, Avocado Entrepreneur, is primarily focused on teaching the things that I've learned about that it's not that complicated and like breaking it down so it's easier to understand and to be confident in. Because I want everybody to be able to make the money that they want without being afraid of it. Either afraid they're not going to make it or afraid that once they make it, they won't know what to do with it. Because it really is accessible. I think everyone can, if they understand it and they take the time to learn it, they can do it themselves. Now, most people won't have the time to do it themselves, and most people won't want to do it themselves. But I
Right.
think everyone can do it themselves. And that's where, like, the empowerment comes in. And empowerment is kind of a buzzword, and I don't like using it. But if you feel like you have to rely on a bookkeeper, an accountant, a tax person, or whatever, because that's above your pay grade, or it's too complicated and you don't know, then you're dependent on them. And you're also a little bit suspicious, because what if they're not telling you the truth? Or what if they're,
Yeah.
you know, fudging the rules for their own benefit and you won't know? And so it puts you in a position where you feel kind of helpless. And I don't think that anybody deserves to be in that kind of a position. And I don't think that anybody has to be in that kind of a position. And so I want to make sure everyone knows that they have the ability to understand it. Sure, you don't want to do it yourself. That's cool. That's why accountants exist. That's why I have a job. But you could if you needed to. And I think it's important, especially for business owners who are creating a team. Like, you still need to know how it works, even if you're not the one doing it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, a lot of entrepreneurs in the beginning is just like they don't even have the funds to pay somebody to do all that stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, and then they don't know what to do, so oftentimes they don't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And so then people are like, "Oh, I can't grow my business because I am not making money." But then you can't make money because you didn't manage the money that you had. So now you don't have any money to spend to invest to get the knowledge that you have. And then if you're not willing to put in the work to get there, it's like just kind of end up being stuck. And
Yeah.
at the end of the year, it's like, okay, I worked all this time. Now I got to scramble and try to throw something together for what I mean. So
Mm-hmm.
I think what you're doing is going to be super helpful because for whatever reason, it's like I always felt like that too. Like when I invested in my first coaching program with Dan Henry, and then like you start making money, I'm like, bro, you didn't even teach us like how to like send an invoice, create an invoice, what payment system to use, like
Mm-hmm.
the accounting. And it's like you ask these, it's like there people just stop with the like, hey, here's the offer, put it out there, and then they're gonna pay you. And it's like,
Yeah.
bro, what do I do after that? And then you just hear like Grant Cardone or whoever, they're like, I wrote off my 5 jets this year. I don't pay taxes, and you're like, bro, like what? Like tell us, like what do we do to get to
Exactly.
that level?
Yes. Yeah. I think that's part of all of the confusion and the noise online is because I mean, now with YouTube, we have access to hear conversations from people that normally in a world where the internet didn't exist, you wouldn't have access to them. You wouldn't be overhearing their conversations about how they wrote off their
True.
jets. So now we have access to these levels, so to speak, and we think, oh, this is another thing I have to worry about, when really we're not at the level yet that we have to worry about that.
Yeah, that's facts. That's facts.
Yeah, when you have 5 jets, then you can for sure find someone who can show you how to write them off. But if you don't even have a jet yet, like that's
Yeah, true,
something
true.
you can take off your worry list.
So, like, what's kind of like your overall vision, like with this avocado entrepreneur, and like what you're trying to like, what's your like, where do you want to like take it?
So my ultimate vision, I guess, like big picture, is to create a movement, really, of entrepreneurs who are fulfilling their calling in a way that provides for themselves and their families. And I'm specifically supporting cottage industry and entrepreneurs. And cottage industry is a legal term for basically work from home. So it started out in like the Great Depression. So the mom who made egg money from selling eggs on the side or doing tailoring on clothes and whatever, like she had a cottage industry business. People who make like small batch jams and jellies and herbal apothecary stuff, like all of those are cottage industries. But online coaching and course creation, community consulting, these are all cottage industries too. And I specifically am aiming to help people who don't want to build a corporate conglomerate Fortune 500 company. Like,
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of stuff online that's saying, oh, if you're not growing, you're dying, and you have to scale and keep working at it and keep building it and keep getting bigger. And my philosophy is that business is like a tree, and that the principles of nature in growing things applies to business. And in nature, you don't see a tree that grows indefinitely in height. The tree grows to the size, more or less, of its species, and it stops getting taller. It might get bigger around. It might grow new branches. It might drop some branches. It is still living. It's still growing, but it's not scaling indefinitely. And I feel like for most people, the pressure to hire a bunch of employees and expand and open new locations and keep thinking of new compounding scalability and blah blah blah, like all of that is just too much pressure. All we want is the ability to make enough money to support our families, take some vacations, do good work, and live our lives. And like, especially there's a lot of people talking now about time freedom and like location freedom. And if you're putting that much effort into building $1 billion business, you do not have time freedom. And I think, like, historically, people were tradesmen. Like, if you think about even the founding fathers of the U.S., Paul Revere was a silversmith. Like, he worked creating silver things. And he just also so happened to help start a country.
Yeah.
But his job was as a tradesman, a solopreneur, contractor. He wasn't employed. He maybe had a couple apprentices that he taught the trade to, but he didn't have a giant company. And I think that society and economy is pushing us back to that. So the more people who can make a living doing something important and fulfilling a calling of theirs without the pressure to become a monopoly, and you know, I think that the Industrial Revolution very much changed our expectation of what business is. And I think that the online, especially like the AI revolution and the fact that so many people are going to have even more things accessible now to them than they did before is going to put everybody back into like a smaller pool, so to speak. Like, you don't have to be the best in the world, you just have to be the best in your circle. And my goal is to figure out and then teach other people how to figure out how to make that be enough. And enough is different for everybody. But I think from what I've seen, it's usually anywhere from like 100K to 500K a year, personally, is enough to live a good life on.
One thing that I think, as you answer that question, that could help as you build this is, for me, right, when I was trying to build Undeterred in the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
it was very hard to get people interested. Like now, it's like people are like, "What are you doing to grow?" And I'm like, I don't really even care about that. Like I don't even think about that anymore because like that's like there's almost 600 people in there. And my goal now is like more building the relationship with people in there. And
Mm.
I think this is kind of like going off on a tangent, but I think like people always focus on getting more people, and it's like if you have 5 people that bought something out of 600, you don't need more people. You need to something,
Mm-hmm.
anyways. But before, when it was like very hard, I felt like I was trying to. I think I was trying to sell like my vision too much and like what I cared about because I knew like that would help them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like okay, my it's like both of us have names that are like like a brand, right? We didn't call it like business school 101 or like YouTube accelerators. Like we have like our own thing that we came up with, like avocado entrepreneur, undeterred.
Mm-hmm.
And I was always talking about like, man, my vision is like I want to help entrepreneurs be undeterred, and like if you want to be successful, like you can't give up and you have to do this. But I feel like when I was explaining all of that, it took a long time for me to explain it, and then two, people didn't really see like how to connect like where they're trying to go with what I'm trying to do.
Mm.
And so what I realized over time is like they kind of just want two things. They want to connect with other entrepreneurs and they want to grow their business.
Mm-hmm.
I need to provide them with those two things. And then inside of that, I can talk about my vision and it'll help them do those two things.
Mm.
So otherwise, like I miss them and they don't get to the two things.
Mm-hmm.
So once they're inside, I can say, hey, if you want to grow your business, these are the things that you got to do.
Mm.
Sometimes we talk about believing in God. Sometimes we talk about not giving up. Yesterday, we had like a long discussion about like cutting people off, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
we have these discussions, but before I was having them in the front, like, hey, this is like what we need to do. I'm super passionate about that.
Mm.
And I feel like being an entrepreneur and also like having known you for a little bit of time now, knowing what you're doing, I feel like a lot of them it's gonna just be like I all that other stuff you said sounds like is great, but like if you I think if you just say like and it's not this specific wording, but I'm giving an example where it's
Mm.
like I'm helping entrepreneurs and like basically like manage their money. And I think
Mm-hmm.
once we're inside of your ecosystem, then you're talking to us about like, hey, like you can share that story. I forget the guy that you mentioned, but it's like, hey, he was a blacksmith. You don't have to have this big thing.
Mm-hmm.
Here's this uh, Bible verse on like building the thing. And I think what's because the I was losing people because they're like, oh, I'm already undeterred. I don't need this. I just
Mm.
want to grow my business. And it's like, so then why aren't you? Like, and
Mm-hmm.
then when I talk to them, I'm like, bro, it's because you give up.
Yeah.
But like they don't realize that. And I had to
Mm-hmm.
like I even on school I realized like I changed my about page. I was like, bro, like you can connect with other entrepreneurs and we can just help each other grow our businesses. And then once they're in there, then it's like, okay, now I can hit them with my vision and like my I think you're like indoctrinating them with like your belief system.
Mm.
And I think one is like easier to explain because you can just go straight to it. But then also I think there's a lot of people that would be interested in what we do, especially I'm talking like community wise, but they feel like they don't need it yet. So they're like, oh yeah, but I don't I like I want to grow fast. I want to grow big. Like they don't know all these things yet because like you're hitting us with like a lot, right? Like you have
Mm-hmm.
really good beliefs and it's because of what you've gone through. But I think a lot of people they've been listening to Gary Vee, Alex Ramosi, Grant Cardone for forever. So they're just like, I just want to manage my money. Like, can you help me with that? Like I have all this other stuff going on.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they get in, I think and they start to trust you, they're like, oh, Abigail, it's not just about managing my money. She really shifted like the way that I think.
Mm.
And so I was gonna
Yeah.
say it like afterwards, but then I was like, after like we got off, but then I was like, I think a lot of us are kind of doing this
Mm-hmm.
because we're so passionate about what we do, and we know like, dude, like this stuff I'm telling you is like super important. It'll like actually change your life.
Mm-hmm.
But I realize like a lot of people aren't ready for it. And actually, I think maybe Jesus is like a great example for this. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like church people get so mad when I realized I was like, bro, like church is not that important. Like, what do you mean? I'm like, bro, like Jesus wasn't going around inviting people to church because like
Yeah.
they would not have went.
Yeah.
And that's all you guys do. I was like,
Yep.
he would realize like this person, all they want right now is to see. So he
Mm-hmm.
talked to them about their eyesight. This person had leprosy. And then after that, they were there and they realized like, oh crap, this works. Then he talked to them about it. And like
Mm-hmm.
once I had that realization, I was like, oh, it's kind of like you just got to meet them like where they're at in like the simplest like way. Like you don't like, and I
Mm-hmm.
like how you said it, like counting. You don't need fancy words. It's just like, what are they saying? Are they saying leprosy? Are they saying like they're blind? Like
if they don't know like what blind is, like what word are they using, right? Like I
Mm-hmm.
can't see. Okay, so I think like I say that because I really like what you're doing, and I think a lot of the times, a lot of us have found ways to simplify what we do to get results, but sometimes we overcomplicate uh, how to tell people that it's like one of the hardest things for all of us is like I'm really good at what I do, but then it's like hard to really articulate it in a way that people are like, yes, that's what I need.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think like as you just told this whole story before, the story you told of like piano teacher to what you're doing now is like, bro, it's scary to manage money. And a lot of people have this feeling. It's like, what am I going to do? We already have enough people that are like, here's how to make the money, here's how to create the offer, here's how to do this. But there's not a lot of people that we trust, that have school communities, that are putting themselves out there, that are like, here's how to manage the money, do bookkeeping, do accounting. And I think
Mm-hmm.
if you just hit people with that messaging, once they get inside, then it's like, let's talk about avocado entrepreneur because a lot of people they don't know what the heck the word undeterred means. And that was like the whole thing I was telling them before they got in. Like, you got to understand what the word means, blah, blah, blah. It's like I was just losing so many people. It's so freaking frustrating. And
Mm-hmm.
then I changed it to like, okay, let's just connect. Let's grow your business. And then now that people are in there, they see other people wearing shirts, they see the posts that we're doing. Like, those are the conversations that we have like inside of the community. So kind of a little tangent, but maybe
Mm-hmm.
that makes sense somehow.
Yeah. Yeah, I do want to ask you really quick if you like maybe your thumb is over the microphone because the last part was a little hard for me to hear.
Oh, it was? Which part?
Yeah. Um, just the last little section where you were explaining about Undeterred and how you were
Can you hear now?
yeah, now it's much better.
Okay. I was just saying like I think I can try to remember, but like before I was trying to explain like what undeterred means. That was like the main
Mm-hmm.
thing I was doing. And then I was telling my story about like, oh, here's like why here's how I learned how to be undeterred. Here's why you need to be undeterred. And it's like I was losing people because then people are like, I don't want to be undeterred. I don't know what that is, blah blah. And it's like in their mind right now, they're just
Mm-hmm.
like, I want to grow my business and or I want to connect with other entrepreneurs. So maybe I don't need help growing my business, but I'm lonely. I want to connect with other people.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of us like being undeterred means a lot to me because like that's my story, but they're not there yet. So like
Right.
I need to catch them with like, hey, let's get help growing your business. But then once they're inside, then I can talk about like, hey, sometimes you gotta cut people off. Sometimes you gotta not talk to your friends so much. Sometimes you gotta go to the gym maybe to like work on your mindset. Like we're talking about these things.
Mm-hmm.
So I think like with you, a lot of the people they're not in the mindset where we can talk to them about like, hey, you don't need to grow a big business right now. Like that like we'll lose them because they've been kind of brainwashed by everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not ready for that yet. But what they are ready for is like, hey, I'm making some money and I don't know what to do. Like I feel scary. Like they're in your shoes of the story that you
Mm-hmm.
told.
Mm-hmm.
And so like you back then, it wasn't like all of that talk would have been good, but you're like, okay, but like how are you gonna help my problem? Like
Mm-hmm.
I need help with the accounting. I need help with this managing. And so
Mm-hmm.
I think if somebody would have just came along and would have said, hey, Abigail, like you're making this money, let me show you what to do. And then after you said okay, then they're like, hey, and they had those conversations. I think then you're over time, like you start becoming indoctrinated. And
Mm-hmm.
what I was saying is, I think a lot of us we get so passionate about what we do that we found a simple way to get results, but then it's like sometimes we overcomplicate the way to explain it because we
Mm-hmm.
know all the steps along the way that
Mm-hmm.
are so powerful. But it's kind of
Yeah.
like church people, like they just go to someone at the club and they're trying to explain all like you got to do communion, you got to do this, and it's like they're like, bro, what are you talking about? Like I don't know any of this stuff.
Yeah.
So I think that's where it's like Jesus was a good example because he didn't talk about that stuff. It's just like this person is going through a divorce. That's what they need you to talk to them about. This person is
Mm-hmm.
they can't see. They need us to talk about that. This person can't hear. They need to talk about that. Once
Mm-hmm.
they realize that you're the person that cares about like their need, then we can
Mm-hmm.
have all these other conversations that lead them down that path. I
Yeah.
think like for all of us, but I think even obviously we're talking about you right now. I think like that will help a lot of people because that's where a lot of entrepreneurs are like stuck. And then once they join Avocado Entrepreneur for that, then they're like, wow, these are a lot of good. Like Abigail thinks about business different, and then
Mm-hmm.
your thoughts need to become like their thoughts too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I do tend to I'm very big picture in general. So I tend to really focus on the end goal, the mountaintop view. But yeah, I mean, when I was 16 and scared of getting arrested by the IRS,
Yeah.
all I really wanted to know is, how do I save for taxes? How do I know how much to
Yeah.
save? What account do I put it in? Like that kind of stuff.
I think sometimes we forget that, like, and I've been thinking about this a lot lately, is like when if we're talking about school or community based business, it's like an ongoing like relationship. So it's like there's
Mm-hmm.
no way for you to tell me everything you believe in like right now. It's just like not
Mm-hmm.
even realistic. Or even if you did, you're not giving me enough space to process it or ask you questions.
Right.
And so it's like an ongoing thing. But I think what's important is for us to discover like the main thing that they want to talk about, because
Mm-hmm.
otherwise they don't even get to the point where we can have a conversation. I think
Mm-hmm.
this is where we lose a lot of people, right? Like someone could be going through like a divorce or something, and they're really like hurting because they're like, man, like I don't have love in my life. And people are like, oh, you need to come to church. You got to get saved. You got to do this. And it's like, you not one time did you mention anything about like relationships. So like in their
Mm-hmm.
mind, they're like, what you're, it's not that I don't like what you're doing, but I have so much stuff going on that I'm overwhelmed already. I don't even know what you're talking about. And
Mm-hmm.
it feels like you don't get me. And so I think it's very important for us to like, I think especially communities, I think that's when people start to feel like, dang, you get me, like you really understand me. And
Mm-hmm.
you're like, hey, let me just help you with the money. Let me help
Yeah.
you just manage this stuff. Then when you're in there, like I think all the stuff you mentioned is like it becomes unique because then we're having conversations about like the ideas you have, and
Mm-hmm.
then subconsciously like your way of thinking like becomes ours. And I think this is why this is when people start to have like, man, I really like Gary Vee. It's not because like you can find social media information anywhere, but it's like the way he thinks about it, or Alex
Mm-hmm.
Ramosi, or Socrates, or whoever it is, you know. So um, yeah, I think I don't know how helpful that is, but I think
Mm-hmm.
just like I realized with Undeterred, like the simpler I made it on the outside, and it's
Mm-hmm.
not so like yeah, Undeterred's my brand, and I should be in it, and it feels like thing you have to talk about that, like you have to explain it out to entrepreneurs so they understand. But then I
Mm-hmm.
realized like that's for later, like bro, they want running shoes right now. I don't need to explain to them what Nike means or Adidas. Like
Right.
we don't even
Yeah.
know what that stuff is. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? What is that? It's just like, hey, you want to have running shoes? Here's Adidas. And then if we had a community for Adidas inside, we could be like, hey, we believe in stretching before just running because this is about like we can talk about all those ethos and stuff like that. But I think if we
Yeah.
talked about like, hey, this is this brand, this is what this means on the beginning, like people are like, I don't even understand. Like, I just want running shoes right now. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
that's something I've realized.
Yeah. I think that I tend to struggle with everything up front in all areas of life. Like, so part of like my personal background story and the whole dating thing was that I was raised in a culture that promoted courting over dating.
Okay.
And so it was, you don't even start a relationship with someone unless you're working towards marriage. Like there is no casual relationships.
Yeah.
And so my first relationship I got into expecting to marry that person. And like everything else was just, are there too many red flags? And it wasn't about getting to know him, it wasn't about compatibility, it wasn't about do I even like him. It was, this is somebody that his dad thinks that we should be together, so therefore it's been like stamped by God and, you know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
destiny and all this stuff. And I tended to be very much like I'm not even going to consider going on a date unless I already think I could marry them. And
Ah. Yeah.
so
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
I bring that like perspective into everything else. So it's like I don't even want to invite people into my group unless I've told them up front everything that they could possibly get to deal with. And you know, I did have to learn that you have to text like one little sentence and then give them a chance to respond and then text the next little sentence and then give them a chance to respond and you can go on a date and that be like it, and you don't have to pledge your life to that person. Like the granular progress is something that I've had to learn like within the last 6 years of my life.
Yeah, yeah. Like
So,
I kind of think of like for us that are in the U.S. like H&R Block, right? That's a big like they help you with taxes or whatever. Like what the heck is that? I don't know what H stands for. I don't know what R stands for. I don't know what the word
I don't know
block
either.
means. And they're not telling us. They're just like, hey, if you want help with your taxes, then come. But then like I think if you're getting involved with that brand, like there's the opportunity to learn more. Like what
Mm-hmm.
does like I guess like Louis Vuitton and all these are a little bit more self ex. It's like it's kind of more obvious because it's like a name, but a lot of the times like we don't really know what that stands for, the history. And
Mm-hmm.
I think it makes sense as entrepreneurs. Like, hey, this is my baby. Like, I want to tell you about like why I created
Mm-hmm.
this and what this means. But I
Yeah.
also think we have to think that like if we're doing it the way that you're talking about, like we're building a brand. So
Mm-hmm.
over time, like the branding will come out and people will know. Like people aren't asking like, what is Nike? What is Adidas? Like because you've seen the stories, you've seen the athletes.
Mm-hmm.
But we have to meet them like we have to make it obvious like this is like what we're doing. Like, hey, if you want
Mm-hmm.
running shoes, like you're coming here. If you want a trench coat, you're going to Burberry or whatever it is, you know. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of the people that are watching this are going to be like, I need help managing my money. I don't know what a
Mm-hmm.
cottage. What did you say? Cottage
Cottage
entrepreneur. What is
industry.
it? What's yeah,
Cottage
they're gonna be
industry.
like, bro,
Yeah.
I have no idea what you're talking about. And I think like once they get inside of avocado entrepreneur, these are super cool conversations to have because no one else is having them. And
Mm.
so, but if they don't get in there, like they can't have those, you know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
and I the thing that happened to me that I don't want happening to other people is like somebody. This is just an example, but someone not getting help with their managing their money because the word cottage industry, like they're like, I don't know if that's me. Like that's too much.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the same thing that you were saying um, for like accounting and finances of like, oh, I know what that is, but I don't use that big fancy term.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you were just like, hey, if someone could just show me this is how it works, then later you
Mm-hmm.
can explain to me, this is the big term, this is this and that. But I don't need that right now. I think it's the
Mm-hmm.
same thing for what a lot of us are doing. And it
Mm-hmm.
feels weird. It feels like, oh, I need to give them all this context. I need to explain all this stuff. But it's like, you really don't. Like, just tell them, like, this is what I'm going to help you do. And, like, over time, just have the conversations about the mindset that you, like, the different things that you want. And, like, over time, these conversations, people start to, I think of the conversation we had, I think it was yesterday in the community about like cutting people off, and I think like, dang, like there's gonna like people gave so many, they were like even like for you for example, like people are taking really they're putting a lot of thought and energy into their response. It wasn't like one sentence. It was like we're talking like paragraphs, like multiple people,
Mm-hmm.
and I can imagine like someone having a tough situation with their friend or sister or friend or client or whoever, and like they're thinking about what someone said in that post, and then they're taking action on it. Like I
Mm-hmm.
can't explain all that in the beginning. Like, man, I really want to help
Right.
entrepreneurs. To go like it's like they're gonna be like, what? You know what I mean? Like you just hit me with so many things. But when
Yeah.
I meet someone in person, I'm like, bro, I just really want to like connect entrepreneurs around the world because I know that it's lonely and like we help each other grow our business. Like they can get that. And then
Mm-hmm.
inside, we're like, then they're like, whoa, what's this undeterred stuff? Like, I've never heard of that. Like, you guys really aren't giving up. Like, you guys are really like investing money if you need to, or like whatever it is. Like, that's when they start to become undeterred. And I think for
Mm-hmm.
you, it's going to be like, that's when we start to become an avocado entrepreneur. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't even need to know what that word means, like, to get in there. I just need to know, like, what it is. Hopefully that's helpful.
Yeah. 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 I tend to. I call it my evil plan. My monologue. You know how in movies when the villain has finally captured the hero, and so they go on the whole rant about their brilliant plan and how they were going to take over the world. And I feel like we just. I mean, entrepreneurs. We all want to change the world. Like that's our goal, and so we love any chance to go on our little evil villain monologue and explain our whole
Yeah, yeah.
plan. But yeah, when it comes to actually attracting people and showing how we can help them immediately, it's much more simple, much more focused, granular, one step at a time, for sure.
100%. So like let's say like somebody they're listening to this and like, okay, that is me. Like I'm an entrepreneur. I felt like how you felt when you were a piano teacher. Like how do they find what
how do they like get in contact with you and like join your community, work with you, all those things?
Well, my community is on school. I do have a website, but it's kind of crickets right now. Like everything is happening in school. So we can put links to the About page, and then it's free to join. So you can come in and check it out. And if you like it, stay. And if not, that's cool
Do you
too.
have like a a easy like URL that that is easy to find, like
Like
school.com
a,
backslash?
um, I think it's just school.com/avocado dash entrepreneur, which
Okay.
is also very long and hard to spell.
That's not super crazy. And then I guess I'll put the links too, but like so your website, does that link to school too?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what's the website?
Avocadoentrepreneur.com.
Okay, so all right. So you guys just got to know how to spell avocado and entrepreneur, and if you don't, Google's
Yep.
your friend. And
Yep.
then if you're in Undeterred, obviously super simple. Like just click on Abigail's name, go to her profile, click on her thing. One question I ask everybody, because I'm like, we never know who's watching this now. We never know who's going to watch this in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't know what resources they have or what they can do. Is like, what is something you feel like would you could use help with that would help you like achieve your goals that you have?
Can you ask that one more time? It got really quiet there at the end.
What is something that you feel like you need help with or could use help with that would help you like achieve your goals? Like, man, if I had somebody that could help me with this, that would be awesome.
Mm. Like me personally?
Yeah, you, yeah. No, yeah, you, but like the goals that you have with Avocado Entrepreneur.
Oh, I see. Okay. Um, I think just getting people in conversations and finding out where they're at and what they need help with, because part of the reason why I have trouble granulating it is because I'm seeing the big picture and I haven't talked to enough people yet to see the trends of what
Mm.
we need help with right now. So, yeah, I mean, ultimately I would like to be your accountant, but when you're only making $1,000 a month, you can't really afford an accountant. So, the first step is to talk about how we're going to make more money and how we're going to keep more of it and how we're going to invest and how much to invest and what reinvesting even means. And so those kind of conversations are very helpful to me
So
to
people that would
understand where
be
people are at.
so maybe like people that would be willing to like hop on like a call with you for like
Yeah,
30 minutes or something to share like what they need help with, or like you could answer questions that
exactly.
you have basically. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Final question. Well, two questions, but the first one is like, what would you say to somebody that's watching this that's not an Undeterred? That's like, okay, dang, this was a cool interview. I've maybe heard of Undeterred before, but like, why should I join it? Like, well, is it good? Does it suck? Like, what is your feedback?
Well, I would say that it is my favorite group on school, and it's the one I
Let's
spend
go.
the most time in, even more than my own. And at the moment, all of the friends I have that aren't like also my family are from Undeterred, so it
I
really
feel like
is
though, like I
actually
feel
a
like that's kind
community.
of like my goal like for it, because I'm like I feel like if it can just be that easy for entrepreneurs, like that's just so dope. Like if you could just open your school community, and then like this is like if you're serving entrepreneurs, obviously if you're like I help dog owners, like this is probably not a place for you. But like if you're
Mm-hmm.
helping other entrepreneurs, it should just be like, Brett, let me get the members. You just be dope, and let's raise awareness to what you do, and like you can get members from there. Maybe not
Mm-hmm.
enough to like you're a millionaire, but enough to where like you get the momentum that you need to like then go to the next
Mm-hmm.
level. Because like there's
Yeah.
like everyone in there needs what you're doing.
You
It's just
can't you can't build in a vacuum. You can't start a river by digging in the desert. Like for the most of this year, I was working on Avocado Entrepreneur by posting blogs on a website that nobody saw,
yeah.
and I've only been able to get progress over the last 2 months because I've actually talked to real live people. So the flow is where the people are. And being in the momentum of other people talking and having access to them and being able to to ask questions and have those conversations, like that really is what gets you the momentum to build what you need later. So sure, maybe at first you're not making $1 million because your tree is small and you're growing, But having access to those thoughts, those connections, those other inputs, it compounds the possibilities.
Right. Anything else you want to share before we get off of here?
I don't have anything, but you did say 2 questions, and that was only 1.
No, that was 2 questions. The first one
That was 2
was,
questions? Oh, okay.
yeah, the first question was, what would you say to someone that's not undeterred? And the second one was, is there anything else you want to share?
Ah! Okay, then no. I think I've
Yeah,
yapped
that
a
was my
lot.
other question. I appreciate you coming on here, and I really hope that I'm looking. I love sharing these now, but I'm also like I think more interested in like what these will be like a year from now. Like, dang, I remember when we did a interview with this person and like look at what they're doing now because it's always cool. Like, I love when people have like a really cool story, but I also love when like someone's just doing something that, like I really believe in, and I'm like, bro, like I really want to see like this person win, and I really feel that about like what you're doing because I'm like, man, a lot of people like really need this. You know what I mean? Like, and I think of our members, I'm like, man, I really want to bring them. I really want to highlight people to them that are doing really cool stuff and could really help them. So, and then I think like my job behind the scenes is to try to influence, encourage, and help people be undeterred, so that dream actually becomes like a reality. So, um,
Yes.
yeah, I'm here to support. Obviously, any way that we can.
I appreciate that.
Well, thank you, and yeah, if you guys haven't connected with Abigail, do so, and we'll see you guys on the next one.
Sounds good.